A wonderful morning to everyone who has joined in today's webinar. From ManageEngine family, we would like to extend our warm welcome and sincere thanks to all our customers, partners, and users who are interested in our solution. Endpoint management and security is one of the main focus areas of ManageEngine. In today's webinar, we will focus on endpoint management solutions, which has different portfolios under management and security. During today's session, we will be discussing on Desktop Central Suite, which has management and security capabilities. Once again, I welcome you all to Desktop Central training. Let me introduce myself. My name is Tanya, and I'm a product specialist with ManageEngine. I take care of endpoint management products, including Desktop Central. I'm a seasoned technical support engineer assisting customers in their implementation, consultation, and troubleshooting in case of challenges. Now let's look at the training schedule. We are on week 2 of season 18, which is software deployment. This is one of the modules of our endpoint management and security suite. We had patch management last week, and we are currently running on week 2 training. In case if you have missed our last training schedule, you can always view them on the link that is shown at the bottom of the screen. Recorded videos of this training will be shared to the registered email address as well. If you are interested in the upcoming trainings, you can use the same URL to register yourself. Let's look at software deployment today. First, let me quickly talk about the agenda. We will have an overview of Desktop Central. Then we'll have a look at the architecture behind how Desktop Central works. And with regards to software deployment, which is what today's session is about, we will look at some scenarios, including how to deploy a commercial application and a non-commercial application using Desktop Central. Also, how to help the end user to install software themselves using a feature called Self-Service Portal. We will also discuss some frequently asked questions with respect to software deployment. During the training, if you have any questions, please feel free to chat using the chat window. I have an expert panel with me who are ready to answer all the questions. Now, let's start with what Desktop Central is. Desktop Central is an endpoint management solution that ensures all your endpoints are secure and enables the users to use them effectively for business. A popular research analyst called Forrester defines UEM as follows: product that provide a centralized engine for managing and securing employee laptops and mobile devices from a single console. In unified endpoint management, you can manage endpoints in a traditional IT management fashion. This includes patch management, application management, configuration deployment, OS deployment, tools for troubleshooting, and day-to-day management activities. Similarly, endpoints can also be managed with modern management. All modern management operating systems supports modern management. It supports features like geo-tracking, geo-fencing, managing store applications, profile distributions, enforce restriction to operating systems, reset, and recovery. Now, can you guess a popular operating system when I say modern operating system? I hope you got that right. Yes, it's Windows 10. Windows 10 is a classic example in which we can manage both traditional and modern management. Desktop Central can manage both traditional and modern from a single management console. Now, these are the features that you can leverage when you're using Desktop Central as a unified endpoint management solution. We have patch management, which takes care of operating system and third-party application patching. We have application management, asset management, configurations. In fact, if you're following our training schedule, we will talk about this in our upcoming sequence. You can manage other functionalities, including mobile device management for iOS, Android, Windows, and Chromebook. Then we have modern management, which is for Windows and Mac machines. You can perform things like geo-tracking, complete or corporate wipe. You can put the device on kiosk mode. You can distribute store apps and manage profile distributions. Then we have OS deployment, which is a hardware independent deployment, where you'll be able to create a single master image and deploy it to multiple machines of different make and model. Now, these are the features that are offered within the Desktop Central suite as a unified endpoint management solution. Hence, with Desktop Central Unified Endpoint Management, you'll be able to manage desktops, laptops, mobile devices, tablets, servers, point-of-sale devices, and browsers. All this from a single console. Now let's have a look at the recognitions for Desktop Central as a unified endpoint management. Desktop Central is recognized for Best Unified Endpoint Management Tool of 2019 as reviewed by our customers in Gartner Peer Insight Customer Choice Award. We are recognized for Client Management Tool Division in Magic Quadrant for second consecutive year. We are recognized for both traditional and modern management. Let's start with the architecture of Desktop Central. Desktop Central is a client-server model application, and it's an on-premise solution. You can have the Desktop Central hosted in any one of the supported operating systems. This architecture talks about how you can manage local area network. When it comes to wide area network, you can manage different remote locations from one console. They can connect either over the internet or using a VPN or an MPLS connection. For our machines that are present in remote site, which are connected over internet, you can use a component called Secure Gateway. A secure gateway is a server that bridges the agent traffic to central server securely, which connects over the internet. When it comes to remote locations, we have a component called distribution server, which is used to throttle the bandwidth for data traffic between the central server and the remote location. We will talk about this in detail as we get into the training. We can choose to have the machines communicate either directly or along with the distribution server. You will be able to manage all your mobile devices as well using the secure gateway. And Desktop Central integrates with Active Directory. You can deploy software, patches, or scripts targeting Active Directory groups and organizational units. So this is the architecture of how Desktop Central works under a wide area network. Even if you have a closed network, yes, still you can use Desktop Central to manage your endpoints. Desktop Central is also available in AWS Marketplace and Azure. In case you're looking to host Desktop Central in any one of the cloud server, you can go with AWS or Azure for now. We're also working towards offering Desktop Central as a cloud solution. Soon, Desktop Central will be available in Zoho Cloud. Now, what are the components that is required for the functioning of the server? So these are the essential as well as optional component. The Desktop Central server is a central component that you will install, and it will provide the interface to management console. The agent is also an essential component. You need this to be installed on the machines that you want to manage. There is another component called notification server. It's an interesting one. We'll talk about this on our upcoming slides. When we look at the optional component, we have distribution server, which serves as a repository for patches, software, scripts that you have deployed to the machines in your remote office. We can create unique replication policies for each location as per the bandwidth requirement. Then we have secure gateway server. This is useful if you're going to manage machines that are not a part of your LAN, which means the machines connecting over internet. We also have failover server. In case if you want to have high availability, you can make use of this optional component, which is separately licensed. And you can also make use of the language pack to list a web console in your preferred regional language. The components are done. Now, what were the operating systems we support? We support these three operating systems for now, which is Windows, Mac, and Linux. So please find the list of operating systems. Primarily, the application server runs on Windows platform, but you can manage the endpoints that have Mac, Windows, and Linux flavors. For more details on the operating systems which we support, you can reach our support team at desktopcentral-support@manageengine.com. They'll help you with more details on the operating systems. Since it's a client-server model, the agent installation here is mandatory. So to facilitate agent installation, we have three methods. First is via group policy startup script in your Active Directory. You can simply download the application setup and push it using a GPU. We do have automatic agent installation from the web console. You can add multiple domains and choose the machines from those domains and push out the agent to them. We also have scripts that you can use. You can download the agent manually, execute the setup directly onto the machine, and it should then automatically report back to server. So this is more appropriate when you have a work group setup. So we will be talking about the agent installation in greater detail in our upcoming training sessions. So please stay tuned for that. Now, we'll move on to one of the important feature of Desktop Central, which is the 90 minutes refresh policy. Desktop Central can scale from small as well as large network, and that is why we have the 90 minutes refresh policy. Every agent communicates with Desktop Central once in 90 minutes. Even if you have 90 machines, 900, or even 9,000 for that matter, this 90 minutes will be equally divided among them, and each machine will be given a specific time to talk to the server. Now the server has the intelligence to assign a time for each client to talk to it. This is to avoid network congestion, or the download can actually eat up all your bandwidth. So that the 90 minutes refresh policy is designed in such a way that will split the load evenly and not to cause any damage to your network. We'll now move further for the ports that are required for Desktop Central. Desktop Central runs on two ports primarily, 8383, which is HTTPS, and 8020, which is a HTTP port. All the agents talk to the server using these ports. And there is also another port, which is 8027, responsible for the notification server component. So the notification server here is responsible for all the on-demand actions like PAT scan, asset scan, remote control functions, and for an immediate deployment. Apart from these two ports, there are other optional ports that you need to have open. The important ports are listed on the screen. You can keep the respective ports as per your requirement. There are a few other ports as well. You can view them on the link which is shown at the bottom of the screen. This will give you a better idea about the ports that are required by Desktop Central. Now, why software deployment is essential for an enterprise? As an IT administrator, if you need to install applications on multiple computers, it will be a tedious task. So, a centralized software distribution solution is required to automate and deploy the applications to the machines and in a remote manner. Also, if you're getting multiple help desk requests, you need to have a solution to handle that. And also to have an updated software always, you need a centralized solution. So Desktop Central's software deployment is an answer for all these scenarios. Desktop Central have 7,000 plus predefined templates to create software package for all the three flavors of OS which we support. We'll discuss on the templates later once we get into the product. Now we'll go with the architecture of software deployment. Let's get familiarized with it. Using Desktop Central software deployment can be done to your local area as well as wide area network. Most important thing to deploy a software is to have a package created in first place. To store that package, Desktop Central offers two different types of repositories, which is a network share and a HTTP or HTTPS repository. If the storage method chose this network share for deployment, then the client machine will reach the share location and execute the installable files from there. You need to ensure that the share should be accessible from all the client computers. The other one is the HTTP or HTTPS repository, which is more appropriate when you deploy a software to wide area network. The package which you create by uploading the installable from your local computer and the package which you create from software template of Desktop Central is downloaded to this HTTP or HTTPS repository. The packages from HTTP repository will be downloaded to the client computers on the LAN, and for wide area network, it will be downloaded to the distribution server, and the distribution server will distribute it to the respective clients. Now, why do we have two different repositories? So Here is a comparison to explain that. Network share is more suited for local area network, where there is no limit to package size which you're going to deploy. Whereas using HTTP repository, you can deploy software to local area and wide area network. Up to 7 gig packages can be uploaded to HTTP repository. If you want to deploy a package of more than 7 gig to a remote site, you can reach a support team who will be helping you with a workaround to achieve that scenario. Network share requires setup and maintenance because it's easily vulnerable to threats if it's not maintained properly. Whereas HTTP repository doesn't require such maintenance. Now let's get into the management console of Desktop Central, and I'll explain you how to configure the repositories. So this would be the management console. And if you go to software deployment, you have an option to configure the repositories. So we provide a default path, which you can use it as a share. In case, if you already have a share where you manage all your packages, then you can update your own share and you can update the credential to access that as well. Now the clients will use this share and the credential to install the installables. Then we have HTTP repository. Again, we have a default path and an option to update a new location as well. So this is where the repositories are configured. Now, to understand the workflow of software deployment, we'll get into a real-time example. So let's take, we have John and his team, and they are responsible for managing 10,000 computers across the globe using Desktop Central. He has his central server installed on Dallas with 3,000 endpoints, and he has 4 other remote sites on Pagoda, London, Chennai, and Sydney. These remote sites have different bandwidth limitation, and the machines are connected to the central server via VPN, or under Sydney, the machines are connected over internet. Now let's see what are the tasks assigned to his team and how he's going to achieve that task. His first task is to deploy Microsoft Teams, which is a non-commercial application, to all the computers in the network. We'll move on to the console. So when you say a deployment, a non-commercial or a commercial application, the very first thing, as I mentioned earlier, is a package. So you need to have a package downloaded. You need to have a silent arguments updated properly to go with the deployment. We make this job easier using our templates. So for most of the non-commercial application, based on our customers' request and the most downloaded rate, we have collected the application and updated under our templates for all the 3 flavors of operating system. And we have over 7,000 plus templates. Now here, our requirement is for Microsoft Teams. Yes, we have Microsoft Teams available in the template, and it is updated with the application detail, version, which type of application it is, and to which platform it can be deployed, from where you can download the application, and the arguments to install it and uninstall it silently. Now your part is only to click on Create Package, which will automatically reach the website, download the package, and put it on the HTTP repository. Now you might have a question. What if the package is not listed on the templates? Not to worry, we have option to raise your request. So once the request is raised, we'll test the application locally and we'll have it added to our templates. I have already created an application package for Teams. So I'll go to Packages and I'll be searching for my package. Yes, I have it. Now we are ready to deploy. Select the package, go to Installer and Install Software, and go for the deployment. So here again, we have two options where if we want to deploy the package to a user, you can go with user configuration. Since we are going to deploy to all the computers on network, let me select computer configuration. This will take you to the configuration page. First thing, provide an appropriate name for the package so that it will be easy for you to track the configuration next time. The package is populated. By default, it will be installed using system user account. In case, if a package requires an elevated privilege, for example, AutoCAD requires an elevated privilege to proceed with the deployment. Under such scenarios, you can go with Run as User and you can select the privilege for the deployment. So once the configuration options are set, we can move on to the scheduler settings. Now, consider your task is to deploy Teams, but you have another priority deployment or you're approaching a Patch Tuesday where you need to complete that task first and proceed with this. So in this case, you can create the configuration and you can set a timer on the server which says when to initiate this deployment. So I'm setting that next week I want the deployment to be happen. Now the server will initiate the execution next week. But how you will be updating these details to agent. So to update the details, that is to provide the schedule to agent, the deployment policy comes into play. Since we have our clients under different location, different time zones, this will help us with the schedules for the machines under different time zones. So under deployment policy, create a policy and it works with the local machine timing. So I need to choose which week of the month I want the deployment to be happen and which day of the week I want the deployment to be happen and at what time I want the deployment to be happen. So I have selected the date and time and I can decide when to initiate the deployment. So during the startup or the refresh cycle or whichever comes first. I believe you remember the refresh cycle, which is nothing but the 90 minutes refresh interval, which we spoke earlier. So once that is set, you can proceed with the second option, which is pre-deployment setting. Here we have Wake on LAN for Windows machines. When you go with Wake on LAN settings, please make sure the Wake on LAN prerequisites are done on the agent side. We need to enable the software and BIOS level settings on the client machine. Once that is done, you can make use of the Wake on LAN pre-deployment action. Then we have download patches software during subsequent refresh cycle. So to understand this better, let's consider you haven't checked it. Now, when the agent reaches the deployment window, it will then copy the files to the client and then proceed with the execution. So within the 3 hours, all the clients will reach the server to download the package and proceed with the deployment. So to avoid the traffic, you can make this option enabled. Now, when the server initiates the execution on the next subsequent refresh cycle, each agent will take the package and copy to the client. Now, when the time window is reached, it will immediately proceed with the deployment of the package. So that would be the use case of the pre-deployment. Then we have user notification, which is optional. So if you want the deployment to be completely silent, then you can choose to uncheck. Or if you want to notify the user, or you want to allow the user to skip the deployment and force it on later time, you can go with the user notification settings. Once that is set, finally we have reboot policy. If an application requires a reboot after the installation, you can automate that using the reboot policy. You can specify a time when the reboot should happen, or you can give the privilege to the end user. So you can provide the intervals. They can choose at what interval the the reboot should be happening. Same thing goes with the shutdown. If it's a non-working car deployment, you can choose to shut down the machine once the deployment is done. So I have already created a deployment policy for my teams. I'm selecting that. And moving on to target, our job is to deploy to all the machines on network. So I'm selecting all my remote sites and I'm ready to deploy. Now, once the deployment is done, whenever a new machine is added to the domain or the remote location, it will be automatically updated with the package and the package will be installed. So let's consider after a month or two, a new machine is getting added. The teams will be installed on that as well. By that time, you might have an updated teams available. So to avoid such scenarios of getting outdated packages deployed, you can choose to set an expiry for this configuration. So after a month, you can set a date. So the configuration will be automatically expired. So this avoids the outdated application installation. Then we have execution settings. For instance, if a package installation fails and there is a dependency for that package, that a specific process has to be stopped before the installation. Let's take antivirus might be restricting it. So stopping that will resolve the issue. So under such scenarios, retry on the startup will ensure that the application is getting installed even before the process starts. By this way, we can ensure that the probability of getting the application installed is higher. Finally, we have notification settings. So you can choose to have the notification dropped into your inbox if this is enabled. But before enabling it, make sure under admin, you have enabled the mail server settings. Once this is properly configured, you can go for the enable notification. So this is how John and his team completed their first task of deploying Microsoft Teams to all the network computers. Now let's move on to his second task, deploying Office 365 to sales department. So it's a commercial application and their target is only for a specific department. We'll move back to the console. Even if it's a commercial application, I would recommend you to go with the templates first. So under templates, we can go for Office 365. Yes, we have a template available, but not with the arguments. We have it with the document. So since it's a licensed application, we don't provide the direct download URL. Instead, a document which explains the complete installation will be provided. So as per the document, the first step is to download the deployment tool. So we have the URL provided from where you can download it. You can download the deployment tool from the Microsoft site. I have already downloaded the tool and here it is. So the next task is to extract the contents of that exe. So to extract it, we have the command line provided. So go to your command prompt and execute it. Now replace the file path with the OS deployment tool downloaded file path and from where to where you want this details to be extracted. Provide the destination as well. Once that is done, the package will be extracted and you will be getting the setup and the XML file. Now you have the XML file in place. You can go with the customizations of XML. That is, what are all the products you need to be included in the 365 and what are the languages supported to be included and the product key. All the details are customized on the config XML file. Once the customization part is done, the next step is to download the complete package. Again, you can make use of the argument which is provided on the document. So here, replace the file path with the setup.exe which we extracted and the config.xml which we extracted and customized. Now, once this is executed, you will be provided with the cap files and the version files for deployment. Now, we have our package ready. We are all set to create it with Desktop Central and deploy it. So we'll move back to the management console. Under packages, you have option to add manual package for Mac and Windows. Now provide a name for your Office 365 package and we provide provisions to deploy MSI as well as exe type applications. Select exe since we have an exe. Go with the commercial license type. Now we need to decide from where you're going to deploy it. So if you have the packages placed on a shared location, then yes, we have the arguments. Copy the location path and the arguments and paste it on the installation command. So when you provide a shared location, two things are mandatory. Please provide double quotes for the path because the path might have spaces which could result in the deployment failure. Second thing, this share should be accessible from the client machine. Make sure that is done. Then, whenever you create a manual package, the thumb rule and the best practice is to test the arguments manually once. Open the command prompt on the client, just copy and paste the argument which you're going to update on the package. Make sure that is getting installed without any pop-ups. If that is a success, then your deployment will also be a success with Desktop Central. Now, using the share, you have updated and you have created the package. But what if your machine is outside your network or it's connected over internet? Then share will not be the right choice. You may go with the local computer option. So when you go with local computer, you need to upload the files. So to upload it, please select all the files and set it as a zip. Now I have the zip file already created. I should upload that zip file and update the arguments without any path. Now when this is deployed, the package will be automatically extracted on the client machine and it will call the setup.exe and the configuration XML for deployment. So this is how the installation argument and the package upload should be done for an Office 365 package. Similarly, you can also make use of the uninstallation part and update the arguments for uninstalling the application. Then we have advanced settings where we have provision to update exit code architecture of the application, and a time limit. Now, why you need to have an exit code? For instance, you might have come across a scenarios where the deployment is success on the client machine, but you're seeing a failure on the resulting page. So that is because the mismatch on the exit code. For most of the application, the success code would be 0. In case if an application have a different code and it returns the code, whereas your package you have updated with 0. Now this mismatch will show an error on the console. Under such scenario, you need to update the exit code with respective thing so that you can have the success detail updated. Then most of the application will be completed within 2 hours. Under rare scenarios, there could be certain applications which will take more than 2 hours. So in that time, please make sure the time limit is exceeded. Else, after 2 hours, the deployment will be called off. Now, apart from these, we have 2 other useful options within the package, which is pre-deployment and post-deployment activities. So here we are going to deploy Office 365. But before the deployment, we want to make sure if there is enough space on the disk to proceed with the deployment. So you don't have to manually check it. We provide an option to automate that. So under C drive, you want to make sure at least a gig is available. Yes, you can set the condition and you can save it. Now only if this condition is met, the package will be proceeding with the installation. Likewise, you have multiple other conditions and configuration which can be set as pre and post deployment activities. You can create a customized script, customize shortcuts, you can make changes to services, etc. So now we have our Office 365 package created. We'll go back to the package and search for the Office. I'm going for the configuration for deployment. So I'm providing a name and the installation is selected. In case if you're going to uninstall, we have the option provided under the same page where you can choose to uninstall. Then I have a policy for Office deployment. I'm selecting it. Now, under targets, my task is to deploy it to the sales team of all my remote sites. So you can filter it and choose the groups which you want to deploy. If you have that configured on your Active Directory, then you can go with organizational unit or group. But what if you have a work group setup or you don't have a proper grouping under Active Directory? Then you can go with custom groups. So custom group is nothing but under admin, we have an option called custom group where you can group the agent installed machines. So we have 3 different types of groups: static, static unique, and dynamic. So as the name says, with using dynamic, you can create groups based on the conditions. Like if you want to create a group for all the Windows 10 operating system. Now, whenever a new machine, Windows 10 machine is installed with agent, or whenever you're upgrading a Windows 7 to Windows 10, this group will be automatically updated. So that is what dynamic. And then we have static and static unique. So the major difference here is a computer in a static group can also be available on another static group. So these groups are used for targeting the configuration. But a computer in a static unique group will not be available in another static unique group. So these groups are used for role-based administrations when you create a user for Desktop Central. So this will ensure that a user who manages a machine is not managed by another user. Now, I have created a static group for my sales team and I'm selecting it for deployment. So when you say sales team, most of them will be traveling around the world to meet the customers. So you don't want to disturb the team members who are traveling around and connecting to the organization via VPN. So to achieve that, you can exclude the VPN IP range. Now only the techs within the office will be receiving the updated packages. So whenever the travelers moves into the office, they will also be getting updated with the packages. So now you can go with an immediate deployment, or if you go with deploy, then at the 90 minutes refresh cycle, the deployment will be happening. So this is how the second task is achieved by John and his team. We'll move on to the third one. So John is receiving a lot of help desk tickets to install various business applications. How can this be minimized? So to handle this scenario, we have a feature called self-service portal. Under software deployment, you have self-service portal. So this is to publish the packages which you have created either manually or from templates, which is supported for Windows and Mac platforms. So again, the target here is the custom group. So you can choose which package you want to publish and go for it. Now, as an end user, from where he can view the packages, that can be decided from self-service portal settings. So he can view that from an agent tray, a shortcut, or a start menu. So for example, this is how the self-service portal will look like. So with a click of a button, he can proceed with the installation of application. You might have noticed two categories when I've shown the self-service portal window. One is without approval, one is with approval. So this comes into play when you have Service Desk Plus, which is one of the ManageEngine's application integrated with Desktop Central. So from admin, you have the options to integrate Service Desk Plus under integrations. Once that is integrated, you'll be able to get these two categories. Now, if you're going to publish a commercial package, you can drop the packages with requires approval, and that will be shown as request instead of installed. So if you click on the request, it pops up a window to enter your message to be sent to the approval technician. Now, once you have updated your reason and you have sent a request, Desktop Central will forward the request to Service Desk Plus, which will be created as a ticket on Service Desk Plus. Once the approver provides the approval, the details will be updated to Desktop Central and it will trigger the installation automatically on client machines. So this is how the self-service portal approval workflow will work. And this is how John will be achieving his third task. Now, we'll look into the common error messages which will be happening during a package deployment. So first thing is system cannot find the specified path or access denied. So you'll come across this error when you are creating a package with network shared path. So the best part, first thing you can go with an HTTP upload, or you need to make sure the share is accessible from the client machine. So you can go for the share, update the location. Once you make sure this particular share is accessible from the client, then you can update the path on the package. The second error is messages related to no silent switch or invalid arguments. So again, as I mentioned earlier, the best practice which I suggested, that is testing the arguments manually before updating it to the package, will remove this particular error. So please make sure the switches are tested manually first. So far, we have discussed on multiple use cases of software deployments along with the real-time examples. So if you guys come across any question, you may feel free to use the chat option. I have an expert team available to answer all your questions. Now let's move on to the next section, which is scenarios and solutions that I came across my support experience. First scenario is there a way to base install of dependency app? I have an app that needs a database install first. Yes, you can do that. So now let's take, I have a retailer package which requires DB to be installed first. So I have my retail application and I have my server pack, that is database package as well. So once I select both the application, you may go with the configuration. So I have both the things listed. Now, based on the sequence of how this is added, the deployment will happen. So first, it will go with the DB installation. Then my retail application will be installed. So this is how the first scenario is taken care. So the second one here is, I have a third-party application that doesn't support silent installation. How can I install it? Yes. So you have three different methods. So first things, you can go for a small research. So let's take you have the setup file available. In case if you have the setup file, we'll go with our Office deployment. So I'm selecting the setup file and I'm seeking the help from them. So that will list out the possible arguments which you can use. You can test this manually and you can try it out. So this is the first part. Or in case you didn't get any arguments, not to worry, we have an option to allow the end user to interact with the installation. So if you have this option enabled, then the window pops up on the end user's view. They can proceed with the installation. So apart from these two, there are multiple other scripting applications. So you can create an auto script and you can add that script along with the package. So that will do the silent installation. So you can make use of any one of these to achieve the second scenario. Third one is, I have a set of applications including MS Office, CRM deployed for my sales team. I want all the new salespeople to have this application installed on their computer automatically. How can I do this? To do this, you need to make sure your configuration settings has been enabled. Under configuration settings, make sure you have enabled when a computer or a user is added to an OU or a group, apply the configuration during the startup or refresh. So you have enabled this. And when you target it, you're going to target the configuration to the OU or a group with the respective team. Now, when a new user is added to that OU or a group, the application will be automatically installed to that group user. Fourth one, I tried to deploy a business app to a computer, but it failed. Is there a way to troubleshoot it myself? Yes, you can do this. So when you say business app, most of the things will be an MSI application. So when you create a manual package for an MSI application, you have an option under advanced settings. That is, enable login for troubleshooting. So let's take, I'm going to create a package for Skype. I have it under share and I have enabled the option. Now, when the deployment fails, this will create a log file for Skype under my agent log folder. So this particular file will have a step-by-step detail of why the failure happened. So you can make use of this to troubleshoot this scenario. Our fifth scenario here is when I create a package using the template, what happens if a new version of application is released? So to answer this, we have a new feature in place. So under software deployment, we have auto update templates. So the packages which you are creating from templates can be enabled with this auto update option. So once you have enabled it, whenever a new version comes in, it will be automatically created as a package and listed in your packages view. The best part here is if you have published these packages to self-service portal, then the latest package will be automatically updated on the self-service portal. So to make sure the end user always has the updated package, whereas as an admin, you will be having the visibility of all the versions of the package. Our sixth scenario, can we perform Windows 7 to Windows 10 upgrade using software deployment? Yes, you can do an in-place upgrade of Windows 7 to Windows 10 using software deployment. So we have a document which explains the complete workflow. So you need to have the ISO downloaded first. And once you have extracted the ISO, you can proceed with the manual package creation like we did for Office 365. We have also provided the arguments. If you have the product key, you can make use of this. If not, you can make use of the second command to proceed with the upgrade. So when I say in place upgrade, if you're upgrading from professional to professional, enterprise to enterprise, then it will be perfect. In case if there is an edition mismatch that is from professional to enterprise, then make sure this particular argument is changed to auto clean. So that will clean up the existing setup and proceed with the upgrade only for the edition mismatch. Now, let's see frequently asked questions regarding to software deployment. First thing, what if I don't have a self-service portal link on the menu? How can I find it? So in case if you don't have a self-service portion option available, then you might not be using an enterprise or a UEM edition. So under license, you can check which edition of license you are using. So if it is a professional or a free edition, then self-service portal will not be available. Make sure you have an enterprise or UEM edition. How do you monitor the status of deployment? Like how many workstations have installed versus how many remaining or failed. So to monitor this, we have view configuration option where all the created configuration will be listed. So you can select and see the configuration details and to which machine it is executed and what is the status of execution. In case you want to deploy the configuration only to the failed targets again, you don't have to create it again. You can create a ditto with no targets or the failed targets and you can proceed with the deployment. Or you need to use this particular configuration for a later time with the different targets, then you can save this as a template using the Save as template. Now, once that is saved, under configuration, you have templates option where the user-defined templates will be listed with the templates which you save. So you can simply create a configuration, update your new targets, and you can make use of that. Third one is, if you are using a secure gateway server in your setup, do the external clients still need to connect to HTTP portal for software? Or can they directly go to the network share or via secure gateway? So what I would suggest here is, if the machine is connecting over network, connecting over internet, then exposing your network share would be vulnerable. So please go with the HTTP upload method. If I want my software package to be replicated to remote office, how do I achieve it? Okay, so you have multiple remote office and you want the deployment to be replicated only to a particular remote office. In such scenarios, when you go for a deployment target, please don't go with the domain. So consider if you have provided a domain and you are filtering and you are deploying it only to a group of 10 or 20 machine. Now, since the top level target is a domain, the replication will be happening to all the remote office irrespective of the filtered targets. So what I would recommend is select the respective remote office among all the remote sites and then you may proceed with the filter. So that would be the best method to replicate. Fifth question, when multiple software are deployed in a sequence, if the first package fails, does it attempt to continue? How is the notification sent back? If a package is failed, then the configuration will be called off. In such scenarios, the enable notification option will help you to have a track on the failures. Sixth one, if you configure a schedule and the computer is not online at that time of schedule, will it be in a queue to install the computer when it comes online? No, the workflow here will be, if we have the window time as 10 to 12 and the machine is down between 10 to 12, when it comes up after 12 p.m., it will have the packages installed only on the next available schedule. That is, the very next day when it reaches 10 p.m., the deployment will be invoked. Seventh question, we have 11 technician license on Service Desk Plus, and we have only one technician license on Desktop Central. Is it possible to set self-service portal with only one technician license on Desktop Central? So the self-service portal here doesn't work with the technician. So here the integration plays the role. So to integrate Desktop Central with Service Desk Plus, you require only one technician, admin technician in common. So once that is integrated, you can make use of the self-service portal features. Now, we have come to the end of today's training. I hope this session was useful. So please to share your feedback and rate us on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is the best. And I'm happy to announce about our upcoming free workshop regarding IT operations and endpoint management, which is to be conducted on New York and Pittsburgh on March 2020. Please save the date and register yourself on the URL which is mentioned at the bottom of the screen. Please do make a note and stay tuned for our next training schedule for asset management on February 12th. If you guys like the training, please do spread a word on these social media platforms. And if you'd like to have a personalized demonstration on Desktop Central product with one of our product experts, you can leave your email IDs to the members on the chat panel, or you can use the below URL to register yourself for a demonstration. I thank you all once again for your patience throughout the session. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day ahead.